He's got a little dog with him. He's got his hand stuffed down in his pocket. He's coming right up to my car. What's up, dude?
How you doing, man?
Hey, you couldn't come through with that 125, huh?
No, man, I was trying.
Why?
Couldn't complete the order, man. That shit was
Why?
It wasn't enough. I couldn't get enough.
Hey, so are all these different? Tony wants to know, are all these different? Or
No, I just do it like
Let me see your hands! Don't do it! Don't do it! Let me see your hands now! Let me see your hands now! Step out of the car slowly. Keep your hands where I can see them. Keep your hands where I can see them. Down, 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 down. Get your hands out of your pocket, dude.
Yeah, you are.
Keep your hand out of your pocket, bro.
Put his hands in his right pocket. No, he knew he was earlier.
You got anything on you? No, sir. Any weapons? No, sir.
Yep, something in his right pocket. He's reaching.
Stop reaching.
No, I got you.
I'm not reaching for nothing.
So you were an undercover, narcotics, and it was guns too as well?
I was an undercover narcotics officer for 25 years. Worked for San Francisco Police, narcotics unit. My last 15 years, I was detailed up to DEA as a task force liaison, and my main function up there was undercover for DEA, ATF, HSI, U.S. Postal, just a whole bunch of agencies up there, federal agencies.
And San Francisco's got such a huge drug problem.
Yes.
Like Los Angeles, like all of California.
That's correct, yes.
You must have gotten so many great busts and stories.
Yeah, I did everything from street level enforcement, like street level stuff, meaning like down to the Tenderloin, doing small amount buys. And when I worked with the feds, I would do large amount buys, multiple pounds, kilos. With ATF, I bought a lot of firearms for them. Anything from handguns to fully auto handguns to fully auto assault rifles.
You did it for how many years?
25 years.
25 years. How does it change over those years? You know, like fentanyl, I know, is a drug that's much harder, much more dangerous drug than heroin ever was.
Yeah, the fentanyl and stuff, the synthetic drugs came into play probably, we really started seeing them 8 to 10 years ago, and they've pretty much taken over. All the synthetic drugs have taken over.
Yeah, the deaths down there are
I think as of right now, we're probably losing 2 a day in the Tenderloin to fentanyl overdoses.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, it is.
So many of the people that I've interviewed there before, I've been there probably 5-6 times. So many people that I've interviewed in the past, I was looking for them. I said, oh, he's gone, she's gone, he's gone.
Oh, it's very common. It's very common for, I mean, like I said, a couple of days. And when we're looking at the Tenderloin, we're looking at about an 8 block by 8 block radius. And to lose that many people in such a small area is it's just unreal.
What do you think the problem is? Especially, let's just look at California.
California in general, it's the laws. It's the laws for drugs. Personal use is pretty much not even a crime right now. And before, when I worked in the narcotics unit, like way back in the day, they would have us go through and do sweeps for personal use. And they would get arrested. They would get brought in on their warrants. They would sit in jail for a little bit until they saw a judge. And that gave them a timeout. I didn't look at it as them being in jail. They're getting a timeout so they get some clarity. They're in jail, they're off drugs. They get to take a breather off the street. And a lot of them would come to a decision that I don't want to do this anymore. But the way things are with drugs being not really a crime for personal use, you've got people wanting them, officers, to walk up to them while they're using drugs and say, do you want help? Oh, I mean, they're getting high. They're not thinking about getting any help. But you go sit in a cell for a while and you take a breather, you get some clarity. And I've had a lot of them back in the day that would tell me, hey, I sat in there for a while and I decided I hit bottom, dude, I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore. They don't get that opportunity right now.
Because the penalties are so slim.
They're so slim and they don't want to keep anybody in jail, but by them not doing that, there's no consequences. And
Down on
sometimes the
Skid-
consequences are positive consequences.
Yeah, down on Skid Row, where I've got a studio, just in the last few months, I saw 2 of the bigger dealers on the street get busted. I'm like, ooh, that's going to be bad. They were out the next day.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of our fentanyl dealers, you'll see that they have 5, 6, 7, 8 open cases in just a matter of months. And they get released again. They get released again. You know, I mean, it's really good we got the federal system helping here, because those are the times when they don't get released.
How did New York City, I think it was it Giuliani that cleaned up Manhattan so effectively?
It has to work.
I'm not sure that was the answer, but
No, but it has to be,
it
I mean, a
worked.
cop on every corner, but it also has to be a complete system. I mean, you've got the police officers arresting people, you got the DA's office prosecuting them, and they're doing their job, but then you have the court systems, and the court systems are letting them back out. So if it becomes a revolving door, you're not creating a complete system.
You think the answer is to just lock everybody up and put them away for
No,
10, 20 years?
No, not lock them up, but give them consequences. If you're a user, doing a few days in jail isn't going to hurt you. It's not going to hurt you at all, and it might even help you. If you're a drug dealer and you sit in jail for a while, you're going to think twice before you do it again. I mean, before I retired, I went in for a court case, and it got continued, which they do a lot. And before I made it back up to the Fed building at work, he was standing outside the Fed building dealing dope. That just showed that he had no respect for the system.
Don't you think? I mean, it sounds harsh, but to lock all these guys up for an extended period of time would make a dent in the whole problem?
Yes, because those are consequences. I mean, if they're going to be off the street for a while, they're going to think twice instead of thinking, I'm just going to get another court date and I'm going to stack it with my other 6 court dates.
And what is the problem then? Funding for the police department?
No, I don't think it's funding at all. I think it's a court system. I think it's a court system itself.
I'd like to thank Raycon Earbuds for sponsoring today's video. I recently tried Raycon's everyday earbuds and thought, wait, these are the same quality as the ones I've been using all along, and these are half the price? It just seemed amazing. Raycon has sold 3 million of their previous earbuds, and they just came out with an upgraded version of their everyday earbuds. Raycon earbuds are super easy to pair. You pair them once, and they'll auto-pair for life. You can walk up to 33 feet away from your phone, and the sound quality is still perfect. They now come with an ergonomic design, with optimized gel tips for a cozy custom fit, multi-point connectivity that lets you pair 2 devices at once, and active noise cancellation. Raycon everyday earbuds are Siri and Alexa compatible. You can control them with the touch, easily switch tracks, take a call, or turn up the volume with the touch. With 32-hour battery life and a new quick charge function, just 10 minutes of charging gives you 90 minutes of battery life. Click the link in the description box or go to buyraycon.com/SWU to get 15% off your Raycon purchase, plus free shipping. And now back to the video. It's crazy how it's been allowed to just get so out of control. You drive through the Tenderloin or Skid Row, they're smoking right in daylight, right in front of everybody. Cops are
Blatantly. I mean, when I was working at Narcotics, I'd go out and buy in the broad daylight, and I'd tell them what I wanted. They would lay a scale down on the floor, right on the street, on the sidewalk, open up a bag, take their time opening the bag, breaking off some, putting it on a scale, weighing it out for me. It wasn't prepackaged or anything because there's no fear.
right in the open.
There was no fear at all.
So back to your job, the adrenaline rush from what you do must be incredible.
Well, it was. It's not there anymore.
Not anymore.
I don't have that anymore.
Do you miss it?
I do in a sense, but then I don't. I mean, I'm older now. I eventually had to walk away.
Your wife was probably very patient through all the.
Oh yeah, she was very patient. I mean, I'm doing other things now for work. I'm working for a private investigator, doing some work for him, some executive protection. I'm a backup driver for a family out of Atherton. I've got things like that I'm doing,
Mm-hmm.
but no,
Nothing that's quite as exciting as what you.
No. That rush is gone.
Tell me about some of the cases that you would get into. You probably have some great stories.
I bought I would buy guns and dope from people. Let me think of a good case. A lot of our cases would be, I would buy dope from somebody, pretty good amount. Okay, example. I was working with the San Mateo County Street Crimes team, the sheriff's office, and I was buying multiple ounces of methamphetamine from a dealer. He kept saying that he can get guns. He got arrested, and he told those guys that I will hook him up with my gun source. So he hooked me up with a gun source out of East Palo Alto, and I was buying from a guy that was going back and forth to Arizona, and he was buying assault rifles and pistols. And we had a really good relationship, really good rapport going, and he was bringing tons of guns and rifles in, and got along with him well. But I mean, if he's selling me guns, that means he's selling everybody else guns. And ATF did a big case on him and took him down, but that lasted probably 8 months. But I was buying ammo, guns, rifles, handguns, you name it, I was getting it from him.
How long was this going on that you were?
For about 8 months.
8 months.
And it was like weekly, I had a weekly rapport going with him, driving down there, picking him up.
You're developing a friendship, really.
It pretty much was. And I keep thinking in the back of my head, if he's selling them to me, selling them to gang members and everybody else, because, you know, I portray myself as not a very nice guy, and he wants to sell me all these weapons.
What do you tell him that you're into or up to?
Well, I tell him that I'm moving the guns to people that can't get them, and that I can't. I tell him I'm a convicted felon, so I can't get a gun either. So I'm looking to make some money off these. So I would buy 3, 4, 5, 6 guns at a time from him, and ammo.
And do you change the tone of your voice or the way you speak or anything like that?
Yeah. I mean, I look like I'm there to wheel and deal and make business, negotiate prices.
Where did you learn all that? Just from being around?
Just growing up. And there was a group of gang members that I was buying guns from. I was buying fully automatic Glock pistols, real short AR-15 assault rifles, ammo, all kinds of stuff from them. And that went on for 8 months to a year. And but I was wired. I was on video. All my calls were recorded. I became friendly with them, where they would call me up and say, "Hey, we're partying over here. Why don't you come out and party with us?"
Would you go?
No, I wouldn't go. I'd come up with some excuse, because there's no way I can go out there and just meet them and hang out. But if
you're hanging out with them for 15, 20 minutes, half an hour, and doing it regularly, you're probably starting up conversations about your girlfriends or about your fictional life. Oh,
yeah. I mean, I would have to have a backstory already done, backstory already in play. I would go to their houses.
Problems with your girlfriend or whatever.
And I would sit inside their houses and hang out for half hour, you know, and bullshit with them and stuff. And then I always had to come up with an excuse that I got to get back to work. My whole thing always was, hey, I'm working right now. I'm going to break from work. So that would give me a chance to be able to say I got to go and leave from there. But I would enter their houses, sit on their couches, bullshit with them and stuff.
I saw some of the videos that you showed me. You and your partner are so convincing as thugs.
Yeah, and it's where I would do things that probably other undercovers wouldn't do, because that's how I would make myself convincing. Like, if someone told me, hey, jump in my car or come in my house or go over here and meet me, some of I was lucky enough that my bosses would let me do that, when some of them are like, no, we have to meet at this location. You can't get in their car. There's no way you're entering their house. It would be things like that. But they would give me, I did it for so long that they would give me leeway on it. And it paid off, because they would not be skeptical of me when they would be like, hey, let's meet me over here instead. Let's do it. Hey, come over to my house. No problem. Knocking on their door. You know, I would do things that would be out of the ordinary for an officer to do.
Can you charge my phone? Can you do this kind of stuff?
Yeah, and the things is
things that another
and I would
guy from the
argue
streets
prices.
would ask for.
I would also argue prices, where arguing prices would be, if they told me it was $3,000 and I showed up and they're like, hey, and they would, hey, it's gonna be 33. Nah, it's gonna be 3. If I was a cop, I'd be like, okay, I'll just give you that extra 3. Or if I was a punk, I would do the same thing. Okay, I don't want to be punked, but I'll give you that extra 3. I would be like, no bullshit, dude. We agreed on 3 and we're gonna stick to 3. So we would have arguments and stuff, and it would all work out. But I think that's what helped convince them that I was not a cop, because I would hold to wanting to get a fair price for something and stick to it. Some cops would be undercover and they'd be like, hey, it's gonna be $500 more. Okay. I would be like, nah, dude, we're not doing that. Because I knew I was gonna have to have a rapport with these guys for a period of time where I didn't want them, I knew this was gonna have to extend for a while, so I didn't want to be punked by them and this thing continue to be punked. I would hold my ground, and they respected it, and I respected them, and we were able to stay in business for a period of time till it was time to take them down.
What feeling goes through your head and your heart when when your backup is finally nailing this dude, and he realizes you were playing him the whole time? That's got to be crazy.
It's kind of mixed emotions, because like you said, I would have a friendly rapport with them, and I'd be like, oh shit. But then in the back of my head, I'm still thinking, dude, they're selling me guns, they're selling everybody guns, they're selling me dope, they're selling everybody dope, and it's not right.
Do you feel like you made a dent in what was going on in the streets in California?
I made a dent in my cases, but as soon as it's like whack-a-mole, once you hit one, another one comes up or another 2 come up. And I think that's based off of because of the laws.
Do you think other states have it worked out better than we do?
I don't know.
In California?
I'm not really familiar with it, but like I know right now, they were trying to enhance the laws for fentanyl, possession for sales, having a certain amount, and those laws have been squashed. So the enhancements would have probably helped a lot. It's the same thing with like retail theft. They're trying to enhance the laws for retail theft because they've really dropped that retail theft down, and that's where a lot of users get their
that's where
money.
Most
they'll
of them
go
are.
Inside any of these convenience stores or markets, and they'll steal everything in them, and they'll sell it for dope.
A lot of the big retailers have left San Francisco, downtown San Francisco,
Yes, they have.
for that reason.
Yep, they have, and
Same things in LA.
it's they tried to enhance those laws, and they've been turned down. So until the government makes a stand on like, hey, we got to tighten all these rules up, I think it's going to continue.
Do you think this problem exists in other countries too? The drug problem?
No, I know it doesn't in some of them. I was teaching a class to a bunch of the Asian Pacific countries, to their higher up dignitaries, and one of the countries told us, oh, we don't have a problem with fentanyl, we've never seen it. And I said, oh, really? And they go, yeah. And I go, do you see methamphetamine, or what do you guys see there? And they said, we see a little bit of meth, but they go 3 grams of meth is a death penalty. Death, 3 grams. And I was like, 3 grams of meth? And he's like, that's why we don't have problems here. I'm not saying that's right or I agree with it, but that's why they don't have drug problems.
Well, it seems to be undermining our country. I mean, like I've been around, and I've gone to other parts of the country trying to get away from the drug stories that I was doing so many of in LA. And it's going on in Kentucky, it's going on in Florida, it's going on in New York, Chicago, Detroit, Texas, all over.
Yeah, it's rampant. Because when I was assigned up to DEA, we would intermingle with a lot of other agencies, federal agencies throughout the United States, because we would be listening to a cartel and working on our California, the operations that they do in California, and then we'd get a call from Atlanta, we'd get a call from New York, and they'd be like, hey, our guys are tied into your guys. So it would show that cartel is networking throughout the United States, and it wasn't just California. So we would see that was very, very common for us to see that one group of guys have a crew out in Atlanta, have a crew in Texas, some in Tennessee, up in New York, Atlanta. It was very common for us to see that.
And where are the drugs coming from? Like, where are they sourced from?
They'd be all sourced out of Mexico. And they'd be coming through, from what we would see, they'd be coming through California, Texas. Those would be the areas that they come through. a lot of the drugs are brought in through trucking. A lot of the trucking companies have a pass to be able to come through. They have a certification, and the cartels would get a hold of the drivers of those trucks that have those certifications, and they would make them bring stuff through. Well, it makes it real easy when the truck comes through for them to have that cert and make it through and not have to be scrutinized coming through. So they get strong-armed as well. So you'll see large amounts coming through trucking companies.
I met recently, I had breakfast with somebody who was involved in the Mexican mafia. And I may be doing an interview one day with them, and they were saying that they'll go to any extent to smuggle these drugs in. Yeah. And they had semis where the drugs were in the gas tank. Uh-huh. And the driver had to pull over basically every gas station across the country. Yep. To fill up his whatever, maybe 10 gallons of space he had in his semi. And the way the guy eventually got caught because the cop saw him at one gas station and then was driving and saw him again and then started following him and noticed he was stopping at every gas station, said something's up.
One of our wire cases, it was a big Dodge truck, 3/4 ton. And on the wire, on the phone, they said, make sure you wash around the gas lid because when you're crossing, they'll see the white, like it'd be like a scale. Like scale would form on it from the methamphetamine being in the gas tank.
In the gas tank?
Yeah, and they told them as soon as you break the border, you got to get gas right away. And it's like you said, they can only go X amount of miles and they got to fill up again because it's a very small gas tank. And we were able to identify the truck and stop it coming through. And that truck was, I think with an extended gas tank in it, I think it was like 80 gallons of methamphetamine liquid.
Wow.
And that breaks down to a lot when it's processed.
How's a career like what you've had, what you just retired from, how does it affect your life, your home, your life, your marriage, your family, you have kids? Yeah. How does it affect all that?
Well, I'm not as busy now and I'm home more.
No, but when you were doing it, you were...
Oh, when I'm doing it, I was...
Immersed.
Oh, yeah. I had guys calling me up that were selling me drugs and dope all through the night. And the next morning, I'm waking up in the morning on a deal that we have set where I'm buying like $8,000 worth of dope. And I'm calling them up as soon as I wake up. I'm like, hey, dude, we're set up for today around 1, right? Yeah, we're set up. So I was constantly on the phone. I was constantly getting home late, working crazy odd hours. And yeah, it was.
There are no weekends.
No, there was none. And it was, I did it for a long time. I mean, it was 25 years of just being on my phone all the time.
The technology advancements must have made a big dent in what you're doing.
Yes. And technology advances help, but then the judicial system kind of screws us on it. We should be able to put trackers on cars in public places. We had to, then we had to turn around and get a search warrant to do it. We were able to, when someone's on an ankle monitoring, we were able to track it. Now we have to get a court order to track it. So every time we get really good on something, we get hit with like having to pull court orders now and violating people's rights. So now you need to do X, Y, and Z.
What do you think that's all about? Why is the government not so lax on fighting this problem?
They're more worried, this is my opinion, they're more worried about a person's privacy, even if they let me out of jail with an ankle bracelet, I'm still considered under arrest. And I'm subject to search at any time. So really, if I have an ankle bracelet on and the sheriff's office is running, I don't know why they can't monitor it. And it's not to be monitored for investigations. But I don't understand why not. Because they're already in trouble and they're already fighting a court case regarding whether it be narcotics trafficking or firearms trafficking or whatever other case it is.
If you were doing it for 25 years, you see the problem is getting worse or better in those 25 years?
It's getting worse. It's getting worse because they're choking us down on our investigations, and nobody's going to jail.
And there's more people on the streets doing all kinds of
Yes.
illegal things, right?
I mean, if you go back to retail theft,
There was never retail theft like this.
no, someone steals $900 worth of stuff, they get a misdemeanor ticket, and they hand a citation, and then they go back in and do it again.
But it's insane that the city officials don't see that this is impacting the city and the shopping and the
a person can get
tourism.
A person get cited 5 times for stealing 5 times in one day. There's no penalty for, okay, enough's enough. No, it's just hand it to them, they put it in their pocket, and then they get another one, they put it in their pocket. Yeah, and I mean, if you really look at it, it's not really hard to figure out that obviously these stores leaving and closing and stuff, there's a problem, and there's ways to solve those problems with harder penalties.
What is the consensus amongst the cops in San Francisco with what's going on, and their hands are tied with trying to make a dent in the problem?
The cops don't really get discouraged. They work hard. I mean, they just do their job. I mean, and you kind of like deal with it and go, well, that's that, and it doesn't change their thought of what they're out there to do. It really doesn't. I mean, they're out there to enforce the law, and they do. And if the law fails them, they can't really take it personal. They just have to continue to do what they're doing.
Tell me about the guys that you were working with, not with, but trying to catch. Are they that different from? Are the good guys and bad guys that different?
No.
I think I asked you this last time.
No, there's people are people. I mean, you could look at it like there's people out there doing bad things, and a lot of them are turds, and it's the same thing in the police department. I mean, it's just a different gang.
I'm sure some of the guys on the other side are really intelligent, really sophisticated.
If they use that intelligence towards something else, they would have been very
big, successful in business.
Yes, they would. Yes, they would. You know, some of them are amazing the way they think. And it's like that at the department too. I mean, it's just, it's like family members. You got ones you get along with and ones you don't. And, and it's like that at the police department.
Do you ever regret pursuing that career?
No. Like I said on the other one, I don't really think I pursued it. It was kind of like just a path that just started happening, and I never thought I was going to be a cop. Never thought I was going to work at a jail. Never thought I'd be working undercover,
Because you started as a corrections?
I started as a correctional officer in San Mateo County, and I worked there for 3.5 years. I never thought I'd be doing that.
And then you became a cop, but then very quickly you became undercover.
Yeah, I put a uniform on for less than a year. And, I mean, based off of my background and never thinking of even being a cop, this was like a dream come true to me. Even when I retired, I was like, dude, I've done everything I wanted to do. I mean, growing up watching movies and undercover cop stuff and all these things, and that's what always appealed to me watching, but I had never thought that that's something that I would do.
You were living.
Yeah. I was living the dream, for myself. And there's a lot of guys that always pursued to be a cop, or whole families in the law enforcement and stuff, but I was totally different than that. I didn't have any family in law enforcement,
The tattoos were for show, or they were just
No, the tattoos were growing up.
So you were a cop with all the tattoos?
That's correct. Yeah.
What's your favorite story of all your things you got involved in?
I talked about the fencing operation before. I did doing that undercover in the jail was a good one. We got into a case where an informant got caught with a large amount of methamphetamine. He knew he was going to go to jail for that, so he hooked me up with his source, his methamphetamine source. I ended up buying from those guys, becoming very friendly with them, to the point we went up on a wire, and approximately 8 months to a year later, they started getting arrested and started losing dope from law enforcement. And they fled to Mexico, and I was still talking to them while they were in Mexico. And they were still hooking me up with other dealers and stuff. And I was sending money back to Mexico to them. And they were talking about how there was a rat in the kitchen, and they didn't know who it was, but they knew it wasn't me. And I was like, no, it's not.
How did they know there was a rat in the kitchen?
Because people were getting ripped and arrested, and they were losing dope, and they're
Don't you worry that that's eventually going to lead to you?
eventually it came out where they figured it out, but it took a long time for them to figure it out.
No, but if somehow somebody suspects that you're behind it, your life is on the line.
Yeah. That's the whole thing, is you kind of got to be careful, because when stuff like that happens or they start suspecting things, I could be blindsided.
Yeah,
I could meet up with them and they could be like, dude, it's him.
You have the most dangerous job ever once things go bad.
Yeah, and they don't, it's even worse if they don't think I'm a cop. If they think I'm working for the cops, then I'm expendable. They're like, it's no big deal. I guess them thinking doing something to a cop would be pretty risky, but if he's just working for the cops, he's a nobody. He's he got arrested and forced to do something. So that's when it would it'd get hairy.
Are the cartels? They're running this whole operation, bringing drugs in. Yes. And they're incredibly powerful down in Mexico.
Oh, powerful and dangerous.
More than the police. Right?
Oh yeah, yes, yeah, by far, very dangerous crews.
How do we fight that? How do we stop it from coming in?
Well, right now we're pretty much like an open border, so that's not helping at all. A lot of the guys before I retired, a lot of the guys we were grabbing on the street in the Tenderloin that were dealing, like the Honduran crews and stuff, some of them had never had they've never been stopped by a police officer in the United States. And they're like, oh yeah, I've been up here 2 weeks, or I've been up here a month. And we were seeing that before, back in the day, even like back in the crack era when the Hondurans were up here, they would be arrested multiple times. A lot of these guys here, we would have no identification on them. First time arrest.
Here in San Francisco, a lot of your dealers are Honduran.
When it comes to fentanyl, yes. Other drugs.
But that's just the street dealers, right?
Yeah.
The drugs are still coming from Mexico.
They're coming from Mexico, yes. But we'd have rapports with these guys because we'd arrested them so many times. Now we grab guys, and a lot of juveniles too. You grab them, and when I was working, you grab them, and they've just freshly been up here, and they talk about how growing up that was the whole thing, is they couldn't wait till they can get up to the Bay Area to sell and make money, and that was like they made it if they made it up here and we're selling dope.
Really?
Yeah. Their situation's sad down there, but it's not our problem. Yeah.
Explain to me how your typical drug bust goes down. You showed me a video last time of you were in a car with some guys you were buying drugs from.
Yes, I also had one where I was buying guns.
That
right. I showed you.
Yeah.
ATF had they're mercenaries. ATF has mercenaries, they're informants, but they travel all over the United States and just find people that are selling guns and dope and stuff. And they would introduce them to me. There was 2 subjects out of San Jose that were coming down bringing large amounts of guns, and he introduced them to me, and I met them over the phone. So I met them in the city the first time, and he was supposed to be there with me. So I walk up and go, hey man, he didn't show up. And they're like, oh man, we figured he'd flake. So I'm in the car with them. I think I got about $8,000, and I'm buying some mini Dracos, some pistols, semi-automatic pistols and stuff, and I'm watching them. And he's supposed to sell me 7 guns. And on the last one, I see him pull it out from his waist, and he pops a clip out. He unloads all the bullets and stuff, and then he hands it to me. So I was thinking, okay, well, that's kind of weird, but whatever. I did it a second time. He had a gun on him, one of the guns. And then the third time, before I did the third deal, he told the informant, I'm going to rob him. He was going to rob me. So they were kind of reluctant to have me meet them again. But I was kind of like, the informant told them, like, dude, you better not rob him, man. It's going to be all bad. So I told him I wanted to meet him again. So it's videotaped, but I'm in the car with him and the other guy, and he pulls the gun out and he starts to unload it. And I ask him on video, I'm like, why do you always have a loaded gun when you come to see me? And he was like, no, I'm just for the way down, for the drive down, in case something happens. And I asked him, well, you thinking of robbing me? And he was like, no, it's not like that at all. It's not like that at all. And I was like, okay, because I'm just asking. And he got nervous. And I thought, okay, something might happen right now. But he gave me my guns and I gave him his money. And then on the next one, I had him bring down like 7 guns, and they jumped in and arrested him and the other person. But I get kind of a rush out of that. Like, I'm
sure you do.
I get a rush, kind of like, dude, it might happen right now, you know. And I have a firearm on me, but by the time if somebody pulls a firearm on me in a car, I'm not going to have time to pull a firearm out. I'm going to have to just try to grab their gun and pin it to the roof of the car or push it down into the floorboard and just hold it and count to 10, hoping here comes the cavalry. Yeah.
You've had this happen.
I've been close to where I thought it was going to, and but I always think, like, when I would get in the car, if I was driving, before he got in the car, I would tilt the steering wheel up. I'd push the seat back because I wanted room to be able to move in case I had to move to try to get over into the passenger seat. So all these things run through my head, like, okay, get the steering wheel up, push the seat back, tilt the seat back a little bit where that gives you enough room to try to get out and get on top of him inside the passenger seat. So all these things would go through my head, and like the guys I was working with, they'd be laughing. They'd be like, dude, you're crazy, man. Even thinking, like, you know, you think this might happen and you're still going through it.
Would you bring these stories home to your wife?
No, not really.
You don't tell her about it?
No. I mean, she knew what was going on, but because it became so normal to me that I never thought of these things. Like they would call, or someone would call and be like, hey, can you think you can do a buy from this guy? He's going to sell a rifle. I'd be like, sure. But I would never even, like, think it out. I'd be like, yeah, let's do it. When? And it became such a norm to me, which probably wasn't healthy for me not to think about things.
Right.
And they're like, oh, we're going to go drive over here. This guy's going to meet you. He's going to have another guy with him. And I'd be like, let's go. You know, let's go.
You let your guard down after you get too comfortable.
Yeah, because it was kind of like I would just bring it on. Like, let's do this and see what happens. And which isn't healthy. And I realize that as I get older. And especially after I retired, I was like, nah, dude, that wasn't it. You keep swinging that bat, dude, something's going to happen. And I didn't need nothing to happen at the end of my career.
No. On a drug bust, now you're probably in situations where you need to, like buying guns is one thing. You look like you might be looking to sell some guns, buy and sell some guns. But on drugs, they're going to make sure you can fuck around with these drugs. Right?
Yeah, they would ask me, and I would tell them, hey, I got a real good union job where I'm on parole and I'm getting tested. I'm not going to go down on that. I'm just selling stuff.
Have you ever had situations where you had to, like...
I had it on the street when I was doing hand-to-hand deals. I'd buy, like, you know, $40 worth of fentanyl, and they would give me extra and say, do it. Or they'd give me some meth, and they'd put it in a pipe and go smoke it, and I'll sell you the dope. And I would be like, hey, fuck you, dude. This is for my girl, you know? I'm not doing this shit.
I wouldn't buy you as a fentanyl addict. You're just
no, and they would think, and I'd be like, healthy. No, dude, I'm buying this for. But I also would dress up like, kind of disheveled looking, heavy clothes, and but I would tell them, hey, my girl's on fentanyl, man. That's not for me. And I'd be like, dude, I'll get it somewhere else. And they'd be like, all right, I'll sell it to you, because they're greed. It's all greed.
Yeah.
You know, someone would tell me. Like, I walk up to somebody and go, hey, let me get 40 a Fetty, or let me get 40 of crystal, and they'd be like, you're a cop. I'd be like, yeah, okay, you're a cop. Fuck you, I'm out. And they'd be like, no, okay, I'll sell it. Because they knew there was 3 other people standing there, and one of them was going to sell it to me. So greed would get them. You know, they would overlook what their instincts were that I didn't fit in over there to sell.
But with cocaine or crack, you're probably in situations where you need to like.
Yeah, they would tell me to smoke it, and I'd be like, dude, I smoke when I want to smoke. I don't smoke because you tell me to smoke. I'll sell you one, but you need to smoke it right here. I'd be like, come on, dude. I'm buying it, and you're going to tell me when I smoke it? Fuck you. And they'd be like, oh, okay. So it's different now. I mean, back in the day, they were all looking for users. You can go on the Tenderloin now, and you'll see a guy with a suit and tie buying fentanyl. You know, you'll see a guy driving a truck making deliveries in his uniform get out and grab some fentanyl. It's everybody's buying it, you know, because a lot of these people, like if you look at the guy in the suit and tie, you know, we've interviewed them before, and he had a knee operation, and he got on Vicodin, and he got put on some opiates, and then the doctor took it away, and he resorts to coming down here for his high, you know. So it's the opiate crisis, man. A lot of it was caused by doctors
Giving out the painkillers.
prescribing all those pain pills.
Yeah.
And it's weird because the opiate attacks your body physically and mentally, but it attacks it physically. If you're doing opiates and you go to get off of opiates, your body will get sick. You get flu-like symptoms because your body's like, I want those opiates. I'm gonna make my body sick because I want those opiates. So it attacks the body. So it's a little different. You got people that been in car wrecks, had surgeries, and they don't come off that stuff, and they look for other avenues to be able to get that high.
And you were working mainly in San Francisco?
No, I worked outside the Bay Area a lot. I went all the way. I've been all the way up in Humboldt, buying crystal meth and stuff. So people would ask our unit up at DEA, hey, can we get Britt to go buy a couple pounds of crystal meth up here in Humboldt? I mean, Humboldt's fucking 6 hours away. And we'd bring the crew up there, and I would do it for them. Yeah, I've gone everywhere to buy dope.
What do you think of the legalization of marijuana?
It's kind of a weird situation because we used to go up to Humboldt when I was attached to the feds. We would go up to Humboldt and we would cut all the trees down up there, all the weed plants and stuff. And we'd talk to the people that were growing. They did not want it to be legalized. People think that it wasn't. No, they're like, dude, when you legalize this, you're going to take all my profits away because corporations are going to come in here and take this stuff over. And when it's run by corporate, nobody makes any money, you know? So they used to tell us like, hey, I got caught. You cut my harvest down. I'll get through next year and I'll get it again. They weren't saying legalize it. They liked it to be illegal, and they didn't want corporations to get their fingers into it. And once corporations do, they take all the mom and pop's money away.
It'll look like big tobacco in a couple of years.
That's all it is. It's like Vegas back in the days when Vegas was run by mobsters. Once corporations came in there, they changed everything.
The only organized crime we have out here is the Mexican mafia and the cartels, right?
We have, like when it comes to marijuana, we've got the Asians are big into growing. So we have the Asians, we have the Mexicans bringing in large amounts of. San Francisco's got a lot of Russians. I mean, there's about every gang you can think about in San Francisco. Yeah. I think people have a misconception about police officers. It's a lot of work to put someone in jail. Paperwork, court time. And like you said, if they're kicking them right back out, cops want to enforce the law, but they're not looking to arrest the crook or arrest the slime ball or anything like that. They're doing their job, and it's not an easy job. Somebody's got to do it, And we get pulled from both ends. I mean, we have people saying enforce the law, and then we have a lot of liberal people saying leave those people alone. So the uniformed cop works his ass off, and I think he gets a real bad rap because he's not getting a thrill out of putting people in jail. He puts someone in jail, he's looking at 4 hours worth of paperwork, court time, all kinds of stuff. So you just don't arrest somebody and then walk away from it once they're in jail. It becomes a long process. And I don't think people really see what that process is. And I mean, my job was dangerous being an undercover officer, but the way the laws are so weak and there's so much disrespect towards police officers, the person in the uniform, man, they're a walking target. They're a walking target. People don't know. I walked around in plain clothes all the time. I'd be in coffee shops and restaurants and walking on the street. People didn't know who I was. People had no idea who I was. But that person that's wearing the uniform, he's a target. I mean, he's got that thing right on his or
a lot of people just hate cops.
His or her back. They have that right on his or her back.
A lot of people just hate cops, regardless of...
They hate them, and they know the penalties are not severe when you go to arrest somebody. You fight the cops. I mean, are they going to charge that? Is the judge going to accept the charge on that? Or is the judge just going to deal with what the primary case was? So it's kind of like, that's why they run. That's why they crash cars. That's why they endanger civilians when they're trying to get away, because the consequences aren't there. I mean, if I was a crook and I broke the law and I tried running from somebody and killed somebody, dude, whatever I did to run is nothing. I should be paying that huge price from trying to run and not comply. You know, it's all the officer wants you to do is comply, and everything's good, man. It's like you're placed under arrest, you deal with it, you'll get out, but I think they get a bad rap.
I would think as an undercover detective, let's say you were working with somebody who you're buying guns from, and he gets to know you and his friends get to know you, and then eventually he gets busted and he goes away. He can still talk to his friends and say that the bald dude with the tattoos, he was a cop.
Yes.
And then you're on the street going to a donut shop.
That's true. But I've also had things. I was at the gym working out, and there was a guy and his girl doing a walk through the gym with the staff, and he kept staring at me, and I was like, well, whatever. He must think I'm somebody that he knows or something. So about 30 minutes later, I'm working out, and he walks up behind me, and he goes, "Hey, you remember me?" And I said, "Am I supposed to?" And he goes, 10 years ago, he said, "You came to my house." And I go, "Where?" And he tells me where. And I was like, "Oh shit, that was you." I go, "Yeah, I remember you." He's like, "You do?" And I go, "Yeah." And we started talking about the case. We were doing a search warrant at his house. He wouldn't come out. So I said, "Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna knock on the door. And when he answers the door, I'm gonna grab him and drag him out. And then you guys come up." So I go to the house, I knock on the door. He answers it, "Who the fuck are you?" And I said, "Who the fuck are you?" And I grab him and I go to hold him. And before I can say anything, I can see him reaching down the front of his pants, and I can see a gun. And I'm like, oh shit, this guy's gonna shoot me in the stomach. So I start hugging him tight, and I'm like, "Dude, I'm a police officer. Don't do this. Don't do this." And I said, "Look behind me." And then he can see the cops coming. Well, they're not rushing there because they don't know he has a gun. So I start yelling, "He's got a gun. He's got a gun." And they're like, "Oh shit." So he was like, "Dude, I didn't know who you were. I was gonna shoot you." And I was like, "I know you were." I said, "I know you were." So that was, we ended up getting a couple kilos of coke out of his house. He ended up going away, I think it was for 8 years. But he wanted to tell me, he was like, "I just want to tell you thank you, because I was running hard and I was either going to be dead or I was going to kill somebody and go to jail for life." He said, "I learned how to cut hair in barber college in prison." He said, "I own 2 barbershops now." So he said, "Thank you." And it was cool.
That's great.
It was really cool. And I've had that happen other times. I've had guys, I'm walking through outside federal court, and I see a guy and he starts walking up, and I was like, "Oh shit, I know that dude." And he was like, "Hey, can I talk to you for a sec?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he was like, "Dude, I was out of control." And he goes, "I appreciate appreciate my time out. You know, he goes, I'm going to do my time, but I appreciate that you took me off the street for a minute. I'm like, that's good. I go, that's good, dude. I like to hear that. And we enjoy hearing that kind of stuff. Cops do.
I mean, what percentage? It might be 100% of the people that are dealing guns on the street illegally, or drugs, or whatever illegal activity. How many of those people are involved in drugs, using drugs?
A whole lot.
Probably all of them.
Drugs is such a bad thing right now. Yeah.
After doing all these interviews, I see how if they weren't doing the drugs, they wouldn't have the mindset to do all the other fucked up shit they're doing, and you wouldn't have the problem wouldn't even exist.
Well, someone made a good point this week. Everyone talks about homelessness. It's not really homelessness. It's mental health issues, people that are out there, and it's addiction. But everyone's calling it homelessness all the time. It's not homelessness. You have to deal with all these mental health issues. They're self-medicating. And you couldn't take someone with mental health issues doing fentanyl and say, I want to put you in a house, get you off the street. They wouldn't even comprehend that. That is not even in their equation. You have somebody with an addiction. Oh, I want to help you. Can I help you? No, I'm getting high. I'm laying here on the curb getting high, and I just want you to leave me alone. So they keep talking about housing. I don't believe that's it.
I don't either.
I believe it's dealing with mental health issues, have them stop self-medicating and get them on stuff they need, and addiction, treating people's addiction. And in treating the people's addiction, I believe it's the carrot and the stick. I mean, you have to have a consequence. And the consequence could be a positive one when you turn around and put somebody away for a minute and have them think about it.
Let them stabilize.
Dude, clarity and a breath off the street is just so much, man, for people. They look better when they're getting out. I mean, I would see people and they would tell me, dude, I'm still using, I did 30 days, but you know what, dude, I needed that time out. I really did. And they don't get the time out now.
Yeah, I've seen people who are just absolutely hopeless. Absolutely gone, hopeless. There's no chance they're gone. Throw it away. It's just forget about it. And through some luck or some miracle, they get clean. Yeah. And it's like, oh my God, I was ready to throw that person away.
Yep. And the thing is if you don't do that and you just keep walking up to them on the street, hey, you want help? You want help? They're getting high. They're never going to get it.
No, they're not in the
mindset.
mindset.
You know what they're going to be? They're going to be a statistic. They're going to be one of the two that died that day.
They're not in the mindset to even accept the help.
No, they can't even. No.
And these places like the Tenderloin or Skid Row these are open air insane asylums.
Yes.
That's exactly what they are.
Yes.
And to put them in housing, so it makes the city look better, I guess, for the Olympics in LA or whatever, or the election coming up or who knows what in San Francisco. But like, who wants to, like, let's say you live in a suburb of LA or a suburb of San Francisco, and all of a sudden you just got a fentanyl addict that moved in next door. They're gonna get that money for the drug. They're going to get the money for the drug. And if that means breaking into your car tonight or stealing your whatever, that's going to happen. It's not like it might happen. So you're ruining the rest of the city by scattering these drug addicts all over the city.
I think you're absolutely right, because all the car break-ons, what's it attributed to? It's a lot of it's attributed to drug use.
Yeah.
All the stealing out of the retail stores, a large amount of it's drug use. All these things that are happening around us that, you know, they're talking about car burglaries going up or retail theft going up or going down or this or that. A large portion of it revolves around drug use.
Every robbery, I've had 2 here in San Francisco since I've been shooting this project. But every robbery is basically it's to buy drugs.
Oh, yeah,
it's not to buy new shoes for your kid.
No. The retail theft you see down here on the corners in the city, somebody will strong arm a guy to take his phone so he can run down and sell it so he can go get high. So it's like, I need to get high. I'm going to steal that lady's phone right there, and I'm going to run down here and sell it for what little I get for it, and I'm going to go get myself some fentanyl and get high. So it's a circle, you know, and they need to stop it.
Do you think, what's your fear, that it's going to get worse, and as a society we're going to crumble, or do you think somehow we're going to pull ourselves out?
I believe we're going to have to get a grip on what's going on with the drugs right now, because there's right now, as we speak, there's additional synthetic drugs that are coming into play that are stronger. Fentanyl. Fentanyl.
Kensington makes Skid Row and Tenderloin look pretty weak.
Yeah, see, and
Philly.
it's like fentanyl attacks your respiratory system. They've got synthetics out now that attack your heart and slow your heartbeat down. Well, Narcan's not working on those. They need to put a paddle on you when you get that. So what happens is they're trying to determine now. They're doing Narcan in your nose. He's not coming to, he's not coming to, he's not coming to. Well, maybe he's on that synthetic that's affecting the heart. And what it does, it just slows the heartbeat down, and that's your high right there. Just like the respiratory system with fentanyl. It slows your respiratory system down, and that's how you get that high. So it's until they get a grip and they keep letting these synthetics come into play, they're going to get worse and worse and worse. And we haven't even figured out this whole fentanyl crisis right now. And we already have newer synthetic drugs from China that are coming through Mexico that are coming into play. So all we're doing is just doubling the problems.
Yeah, the future looks really dark.
It does.
In this country.
It really does.
Because what I see going on in like Appalachia and all over the country, it's like, does no one see how out of control and insane this is? Like no one's...
And who's making all the money? Mexico and China. That's who's making all the money.
The one thing I've said many times is, if you ask the Chinese or the Mexicans, would you like to see the United States implode and just fall apart? They would say yes. How soon can we make that happen?
It's as we speak.
Yeah, it's happening.
It really is.
And we're doing nothing about it. We're kind of like changing the laws to make it easier for it to happen.
Yeah, nobody's, even outside California, even our people that run the United States, nobody's talking about fentanyl. Nobody discusses fentanyl. Nobody talks about how bad it is.
It's almost like a lot of the people in control don't even understand what it is.
And I don't think
it's just another drug like heroin. It's not another drug like heroin.
No, this isn't the crack epidemic. This is the
not
crack
the
epidemic times 1,000.
Yeah.
And there's other drugs coming into play that are even going to make it worse. Yeah, this isn't crack. This is poison. This is poison. I can take meth, coke, heroin. I can take any of those drugs. I can mix them together. I can put them up above and sprinkle them all over an area, and it's going to do nothing. I do it just with fentanyl, and it's going to expose everybody it touches. It's going to get into their eyes, their nose, their mouth. It's going to get in their hands. They're going to touch something, and they're going to be contaminated.
You put it on car handles. You put it on doorknobs. You put it on the buffet food places. You could murder 1 million people.
Oh yeah, it's like anthrax.
And we're letting it happen.
It's a poison.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a crazy time.
It really is. I don't know. It's going to buckle up for the ride and see what happens, because things are going to have to change.
Yeah, we're changing. We're making the laws easier for those that
That's
happen.
true. That's true.
Yeah. You have how many kids?
3 kids.
I know your daughters who connected us at first. Have they gone into law enforcement?
They're dispatchers. Yeah, they're dispatchers. I got 7 grandkids and 1 more on the way. So I'll have 8 this year. Yeah.
And how old are you now?
I'm 60.
You're 60.
I'm 60.
You look healthy as a horse for 60.
Now I'm 60.
You lived a great life.
I have.
Stayed out of trouble, stayed out of danger.
Yeah. Yeah, I just created my own danger.
Yeah,
but I stayed out of danger.
You're like me. You're like I'm elbows deep in danger, but
yes, you create your own. Exactly.
Yeah. Have you ever played around with any of these dangerous lifestyles?
No, I didn't. No, when I was young, I got into martial arts and boxing, and I had trainers, and they asked me to not even drink for 3 to 6 months, and I didn't, and for some reason it just clicked. I just had no desire to drink, no desire to do any drugs.
Yeah, same here.
It's been 40 years, and I still have no desire at all. Yeah. I would see a lot of people, and once I got clarity, I stopped for a while, just partying and stuff, and I got clarity because I see a lot of people drink, and I'm like, dude, I act like that. Or I see people spend all their money, and I'd be like, dude, did I do that? So I kind of just feed off of that and go, that's not the route I want to go.
Tell me about your childhood. Your parents you had mom and dad?
Yeah, mom and dad still together. Yeah, 2 other brothers and a sister. Pretty normal family, very middle class, very like I don't know if we were lower middle class, but parents worked hard,
That's solid.
keep food on the table, and yeah, it's had a good childhood. Yeah, very good. I mean, like middle class childhood, but it was good.
Nothing wrong with that. You don't need to be rich to be.
No. Yeah.
Plenty of poor people that have great lives.
Yes. Yeah. And Dad had great work ethic, and I think that's what he's instilled in me because I continue to. I'm always going, even though I retired.
What did your dad do?
He was a cement mason, plaster swimming pools, and that. I mean, he just taught me to get in there and get it done.
What kind of teenager were you?
Rebellious, kind of a punk.
Getting in trouble?
Yeah, not bad trouble, but in trouble. Yeah.
And how did the corrections officer job come your way?
Wanted to get a job to get benefits, better pay. Like I said on the other one, I owed it to my family, I owed it to my wife to get something stable. Instead of feast or famine every month. Doing good this month, I got nothing this month. Doing good this month, and that didn't cut it. So steady paycheck, good retirement, and my buddy was a fireman, and he was like, "Dude, you got to get a job like this. You got to get a job with the fire department, police department, city worker. You got to get some type of government job. That's the way to go." And I listened to him. That's what I did.
And you sure steered it in a creative and interesting way.
Yes.
Britt, what would you say is the most important thing you've learned after all of this interesting life you've lived?
Don't take it for granted. Enjoy it. Don't take it for granted, and don't rush to do things. Think things out. I didn't think out when I was a kid. I just boom, 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 did shit. So I made a lot of mistakes. As I got older, I would think myself through things, and you got to stop for a minute, take a breath, and think, instead of just. A lot of people don't think, and they make really bad moves. Some decisions in life that they can't take back, and I was lucky enough not to.
All right, Britt. Thank you so much for sharing your story.
Thank
again.
you. All right.
And good luck with your retirement.
Thanks, Mark.
Okay, thanks. That was awesome.
Was it?
Yeah, it was better than the first one. That was better than the first one.